What if I told you that Earth's history was never about life, but about everything that comes after it? Before cities, oceans, or breath existed, the planet already knew what it was to die. It had burned, frozen, drowned, and resurrected dozens of times, long before any creature learned to fear the end. Each era was a sigh, each catastrophe, a new beginning. And from the ashes of every extinction, something unprecedented always emerged, as if destruction were the purest form of creation. Asteroids shaped the seas. Volcanoes forged the skies. DNA reinvented matter itself. And now, for the first time, these three forces, stone, fire, and code, converge once more. But this time, there is a variable that has never existed before: us. Man has become the new volcano, the new comet, the new unstable code. We tamper with Earth's DNA with hands that believe they grasp the divine, yet we forget that nature is not an experiment, it is an instinct. While we pursue control, the planet merely observes, awaiting the moment when our own invention will complete the cycle and transform us into a mere memory. This is not a story about the end of the world. It's a story about how the world always finds a way to persist, even without us. Because, when all is said and done, the universe never stops. It merely resets. And when that happens again, when the sky falls, fire ascends, and DNA decides to start anew, the question won't be, why did this happen? But rather, who will come after us? They have always been here, silent and patient, the stone that falls from the sky, the fire that erupts from the depths, and the invisible code that writes life itself. Asteroids, volcanoes, and DNA, three forces that demand no permission, accept no negotiation, and, when they act, redraw the planet without a backward glance. An impact can obliterate continents in minutes, a supervolcano can shroud the sun for years, an imperceptible mutation can spawn a new predator, a new idea, a way to resist the impossible. It is within this triangle of chaos and creation that Earth has found its rhythm, brutal blows followed by improbable rebirths. Today, you will trace the secret lines of this geological and biological script, understand how stones, fire, and genes became co-authors of life's history, and why, in the end, the world's destiny may reside in the dust of a comet, the sigh of a caldera, or an extra letter in the DNA alphabet. Long ago, before humanity erected temples or dreamed of gods, the sky was already Earth's first adversary. Rocks the size of cities journeyed through absolute darkness, like harbingers of chaos. They traversed the void in silence, until, suddenly, physics transformed into fire. When an asteroid strikes the atmosphere, the entire world holds its breath. In seconds, the air becomes plasma, the ground trembles, and the sound of the impact echoes for eons. Each collision is a full stop, and also a new beginning. The most well-known of these events transpired 66 million years ago, in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula. A 10-kilometer cosmic fragment pierced through space and impacted Earth with a force a billion times greater than that of the Hiroshima bomb. The ensuing explosion propelled ash and vapor in all directions, obscuring the sun for months. Temperatures plummeted, plants perished, and the seas became acidic. And thus, the overlords of Earth, the dinosaurs, vanished. But what seemed like an end was, in fact, a new beginning. With the giants extinct, small mammals emerged from the shadows. Creatures that had lived hidden beneath the ground began to occupy the spaces left by the ancient behemoths. This was the first great lesson of the celestial stones: destruction is the most efficient part of creation. What few realize is that not all impacts were intended to obliterate. Some delivered chemical seeds, organic molecules that may have provided the very genesis of life. Carbon, nitrogen, amino acids, present in comets and meteorites, could have been the invisible building blocks of biology. In other words, the same force that destroys also creates. Since then, the heavens have never ceased their vigil. Every millennium, lesser celestial bodies traverse our vicinity. Some pass unnoticed, while others streak across the sky, reminding us of our inherent fragility. A mere deviation of a few kilometers in an asteroid's trajectory is all it would take to reduce the entirety of human history to dust. In space, there is no intent. There is only motion. And within this blind movement, life's destiny is silently inscribed, stone by stone, collision by collision. What we term chance is, in reality, the cosmic script that continues to be rewritten, even now, as you listen to this tale. The sky did not finish its work. It merely awaits the next act. There are forces that do not emanate from the heavens, but from the very womb of the earth. Ancient forces, unseen and infinitely patient. They slumber beneath our feet, compressed within chambers of stone and heat, simply biding their time to remind us who presides below. We call this volcanism, but that word scarcely captures the true fury that unfolds. When a volcano awakens, it does not merely destroy, it resets the planet. 252 million years ago, during the Permian period, the world experienced what scientists refer to as the Great Dying. A cascade of eruptions devastated what is now Siberia. For millions of years, rivers of lava inundated entire continents, releasing gases that rendered the atmosphere toxic. The skies turned black, oceans boiled, and over 90% of life was extinguished. It was the most lethal event in the planet's history. And yet, after the devastation, life returned. Fire, unlike ice, does not kill swiftly, it transforms gradually. It alters the air, soil, and oceans. Each eruption is a wound, yet also a seed. The carbon dioxide that once scorched the planet was the same that, millions of years later, fueled the resurgence of vegetation. The sulfur that darkened the skies created minerals that would give rise to new ecosystems. Fire is Earth's alchemist. In every epoch, it resurfaces under different guises: Krakatoa, Tambora, Toba, Yellowstone. Each has left indelible scars that have irrevocably altered climates, redirected the trajectories of entire civilizations, and shaped the very map of life. Toba, for instance, 74 millennia ago, precipitated a catastrophic reduction in the human population to mere hundreds. And yet, we endured. But what few understand is that these volcanoes are not enemies. They are safety valves. The Earth is alive, and when its interior churns, it needs to breathe. The magma that emerges is the blood that courses beneath the crust, redistributing energy, rectifying heat imbalances. It is the planetary nervous system functioning, though, to us, it appears as destruction. At its core, perhaps the planet is the most cruel yet wisest artist in existence. It incinerates the old to make way for the new. It raises cities to underscore the enduring dominion of stone. And while humanity dreams of mastering fire, fire itself continues to script the future, a future that needs no us to unfold. The sound of a volcano is not mere noise. It is the echo of the planet's heart beating, a reminder that when it chooses to begin anew, it will not seek permission. There exists a power more ancient than asteroids and more patient than volcanoes. An invisible force, which demolishes not with fire or stone, but with time. It resides within every cell, in every leaf, in every drop of blood. It is DNA, the silent code that chronicles the history of life. It is the architect of survival, the editor of the future. As the planet erupts and rebuilds, DNA observes, adapts, and restarts, as if holding within itself the secret to immortality. For billions of years, DNA has learned a lesson that humanity has yet to grasp: change is the only constant. With each catastrophe, nature does not grieve, it reorganizes. Mutations, which appear to be errors, are in reality the language life employs to reinvent itself. When an asteroid obliterates the dinosaurs, the DNA of small mammals is already poised for the next act. When fire engulfs the skies, it rewrites genes to withstand the ash. Every catastrophe is a trial, and DNA is the student who never forgets the lesson. It carries invisible memories, recollections of glaciations, volcanoes, plagues, and eras of silence. Within the genetic code of every living being lie ancient scars, testaments to a planet that never ceased testing its progeny. DNA does not pursue perfection. It seeks permanence. And permanence, for it, stems from constant adaptation. But something new is unfolding. For the first time, life itself has learned to edit its own code. Humanity now manipulates DNA, alters letters, recreates species, and engineers hybrids. For the first time, nature is being reshaped not by brute force, but by deliberate intent. This is power, and it is peril. For in touching the code of creation, we also touch the code of destruction. Every altered gene is a genetic roulette wheel. A small change can cure diseases, or create new ones. We can engineer resistance, but also fragility. And what DNA took billions of years to balance, humanity attempts to redesign in a few decades. We are tinkering with the very backbone of evolution. The question is, will DNA continue to serve us, or begin to correct us? Because life, much like the planet, also defends itself. And if one day it comprehends that humanity itself is the greatest evolutionary misstep, it might rewrite the code once more, without our consent. Earth's history has never been a straight line. It's a spiral composed of collapses and rebirths, of destruction and invention. Every blow, whether from stone, fire, or time, is also an invitation to reinvention. What we term the end is merely the interlude between one life form and the next. Chaos, however devastating it may appear, is the silent engine of evolution. When a volcano blankets the sky with ash, it simultaneously enriches the soil that will engender future forests. When an asteroid obliterates entire ecosystems, it carves out room for species that would otherwise never emerge. When DNA mutates and errs, that very error sometimes transmutes into the invention of a novel life form. It is the dance between collapse and creation, a choreography spanning billions of years. The Earth's equilibrium has never been static. It pulses, oscillates, declines, and recovers. Every catastrophe, every extinction, is a natural cleansing, a system reset. And in this process, life learns, refines itself, and becomes more complex. With each new era, living beings grow more efficient, more resilient, more inventive. Chaos, after all, is the grand architect of adaptation. But the problem is that there's now a new kind of chaos, not natural chaos, but engineered chaos. Humanity has transformed the planet into an unstable laboratory. We've created imbalances that are not part of the life cycle, but rather the cycle of greed. We've felled forests, heated seas, altered genes, and tinkered with nature's gears as if playing with fire, oblivious to the fact that this very fire is what shaped the planet. However, chaos always exacts a toll. Nature can endure a great deal, but it never forgets. And when the imbalance transgresses a certain threshold, it retaliates. Sometimes with fire. Sometimes with ice. Sometimes with something we cannot even foresee. Because the planet possesses its own logic, and within it, destruction is merely a more expedited means of re-establishing order. What if everything we are currently experiencing, the warming, the droughts, the diseases, the climate collapse, is simply the Earth doing what it has always done? Eliminating the excess. Rewriting the balance. Resetting the cycle. Perhaps the chaos we most dread is not the adversary, but rather the very instrument of evolution. There is a day lost to time when the planet nearly surrendered its will to live. It was the event scientists termed the Great Dying, and if Earth's history had a closer brush with finality, this would have been it. It transpired approximately 252 million years ago, when all the elements of apocalypse converged: fire, darkness, poison, and silence. Envision the entire globe engulfed in a miasma of smoke. Oceans boiling, mountains spewing ash, skies obscured by sulfur. An inferno that persisted for eons, engendered by the most prodigious sequence of volcanic eruptions ever documented, blanketing an expanse commensurate with the United States in incandescent lava. The atmosphere transmuted into a toxic brew, the seas became anoxic, and a staggering 96% of all marine life, alongside 70% of terrestrial life, was extinguished. Entire forests were reduced to charcoal, and the Earth's lament was akin to the death throes of a suffocating entity. For centuries, it was believed that this marked the definitive end. Yet, the planet possesses an indelible memory. Following the inferno, darkness descended, and after the darkness, a hesitant rebirth. Microorganisms began to proliferate in the stagnant waters, gradually reconstituting the cycle of life. From the void, something novel emerged. Earth learned to breathe anew. The fossils from this era tell a disquieting story. Life has never shied away from chaos. Even as everything appeared doomed, the earliest heat-resistant life forms evolved. Nature did not mourn the collapse, it weaponized it. Every catastrophe became an evolutionary laboratory, an experiment of existence itself. But this lesson has been forgotten by modern man. We look at destruction and see tragedy, the planet looks and sees adjustment. And this difference in perception is what separates us from natural wisdom. Earth understands that balance comes from movement. When there is stagnation, it creates earthquakes, storms, eruptions. When there is excess, it cuts back. And what if the Great Dying wasn't just an isolated event, but a reminder? A message etched in stone, saying, all that ignores equilibrium, shall be erased. Perhaps we are closer to this lesson than we realize. Because with each passing century, we repeat the same patterns, warming, destroying, ignoring. And the planet, as patient as ever, may simply be biding its time to deliver its riposte. There is something about Earth that defies all human logic, the insistence of life to return. Even when all seems lost, when the planet cloaks itself in ash and the sea transmutes into poison, something unseen begins to stir. It is as if the very DNA of the world possesses a hidden subroutine, a line of code that dictates, begin anew. Following the Great Death, Earth's surface was a smoldering wasteland, devoid of forests, bereft of azure seas, and lacking breathable air. Yet, on the toxic fringes of ancient volcanoes, minuscule microorganisms began to emerge. Bacteria capable of subsisting on sulfur, enduring lethal temperatures, and metabolizing poison into energy. They were the ones who rebuilt the bedrock of existence, the inaugural architects of rebirth. Over time, the planet gradually settled. Rains cleansed the skies, the oceans resumed their flow, and novel ecosystems emerged. Plants evolved from resilient algae, animals adapted to a warmer world, and life continued its cycle. Yet, nothing was as it had been. Every living form now bore within its genetic code the memory of the collapse. As if DNA itself had learned that death is merely an interlude, not an absolute end. This pattern has recurred in every subsequent extinction. When the dinosaurs were annihilated, mammals inherited the earth. When forests burned, fungi proliferated upon the ashes, recycling carbon and returning nutrients to the soil. When the seas were poisoned, microscopic organisms re-emerged to cleanse them. Nature does not surrender, it learns. It is as if there is a hidden intelligence within the chaos, a sort of silent consciousness that comprehends that every destruction is merely a prelude to reconstruction. The planet requires no miracles, it possesses an inherent, self-sustaining system of regeneration. Life, even when reduced to a mere ember, intrinsically knows the path back. But there's a disquieting detail: in every extinction event, the dominant species on the planet was supplanted. Always. The dinosaurs fell so that mammals could rise. The marine giants vanished so that new creatures could emerge. And if history repeats itself, as it invariably does, perhaps we will be the next to yield to the new. Perhaps the planet is already nurturing the next dominant life form, imperceptible to our senses. Perhaps, in the depths where heat and venom still hold sway, the next sovereign species is already being born. And when it surfaces, the Earth, once again, will have fulfilled its destiny, to destroy, in order to recreate. After billions of years of shaping itself with fire, ice, and time, Earth witnessed something different, a being that began to shape it back. Suddenly, a fragile creature, devoid of claws, fangs, or wings, dared to usurp the planet's own role as a creative force. Man learned to wield the laws of nature, but never to revere them. He built cities where forests once stood, tamed rivers, rewrote genes, and believed he had conquered natural selection. It was the dawn of a new epoch, the era of the God-Man. With fire, we learned to simulate the might of volcanoes. Through engineering, we've recreated mountains, diverted winds, and dammed oceans. With science, we've touched DNA and redrawn the very essence of life. For the first time, humankind has placed itself above the system that birthed it. Yet, every deity fashioned from flesh carries within it the germ of its own downfall. In the beginning, it seemed like victory. Crops flourished, machines supplanted toil, and technology promised immortality. However, what we termed progress was merely a novel form of imbalance, an advance that consumes the very ground it treads upon. Forests became fuel, oceans became refuse heaps, and the air transformed into an invisible repository of poison. Humanity achieved the impossible, it replicated the power of gods and the carelessness of comets. In the Anthropocene, this epoch bearing our name, the planet is no longer a landscape, but a victim. Every city is a dormant volcano, exhaling flameless smoke. Every power plant is a miniature catastrophe. We have created digital deserts and seas of plastic, all the while christening it civilization. And the more we control the planet, the less we control ourselves. What began as dominion has devolved into dependence. Now, we can no longer subsist without the machines we invented, the warmth we generate, the cacophony we produce. We have become prisoners of our own power. And the most paradoxical aspect is that, amidst such an abundance of knowledge, we are the species furthest from wisdom. As we explore the cosmos, we neglect the sinking ground beneath us. While we search for life on other planets, we decimate the life on our own. As we speak of the future, we forget that tomorrow hinges upon the equilibrium of today. The planet, in silence, watches. It has witnessed this narrative unfold before. Dinosaurs, verdant forests, vast oceans, each presumed to be immutable. All have vanished. The distinction now is that the impending apocalypse shall not descend from the heavens, nor emerge from inferno. It will be wrought by our own hands. Perhaps humanity has, inadvertently, become Earth's new asteroid. No empire endures forever, neither that of the gods nor that of men. Every ascent carries within it the blueprint for its downfall, and humanity's collapse did not commence with wars, nor with catastrophes, it began with oblivion. We forgot that the planet is alive, that the air has limits, that equilibrium is not a luxury, but a prerequisite. In transforming the Earth into a resource, we transformed ourselves as a consequence. Initially, the decline was imperceptible. The sea rose millimeters, forests lost a shade of verdancy, the heat became a touch more persistent. Then came the overt signs, storms that ought not to exist, glaciers that vanished overnight, species that disappeared without a trace. And with each disregarded signal, the planet responded with escalating vehemence. Collapse is not an event, it is a dialogue we have chosen to ignore. Modern man fancies himself the master of his domain, yet he truly resides within a simulation. Screens, algorithms, the illusion of security, and behind it all, nature's clock relentlessly marches on. The Anthropocene has become a mirror in which humanity gazes, captivated by its own reflection, as the surrounding landscape silently fades away. Megacities have transformed into artificial ecosystems, fueled by pilfered energy and depleted resources. The night sky no longer belongs to the stars, but to the glare of factories. The ocean no longer sings, it whispers anguish. Food is born from poisoned soil, and the air we breathe carries the unseen burden of all we deny. We have built a world that mirrors ourselves, efficient, brilliant, and ailing. And the most tragic aspect is that the collapse is not merely ecological. It is psychological. It is spiritual. Humanity has become so estranged from the earth that it no longer recognizes itself within it. We have forgotten the scent of rain, the rustle of leaves, the profound quietude of the mountains. We exist surrounded by machines that mimic life, yet never truly experience it. We have supplanted intuition with statistics, time with the clock, the soul with the algorithm. When the God-human lost faith in his own planet, he began to die from within. And now, his concrete empire rises from ashes, not as a testament to victory, but as a monument to his own estrangement. Man's collapse will not arrive as an explosion, but as a gradual fading of meaning. One day, perhaps we will no longer feel guilt, nor fear, nor wonder. And that will be the true end, not when the planet destroys us, but when we cease to care about it. And, ironically, it will be at that precise moment that the earth begins to breathe anew. When the last human sound fades into silence, the planet will not mourn. It will do what it has always done, begin again. Silently, slowly, with the patience of one who understands that time is not an adversary, but an ally. Cities will crumble, skyscrapers will become skeletons draped in moss, and nature will commence the work it knows best, rebuilding equilibrium. The roots will break through the concrete, the seeds dormant beneath the asphalt will sprout at the first touch of rain. The winds, once polluted by smoke and noise, will once again carry the scent of the ocean. The planet, like a body expelling an infection, will purge the remnants of civilization and transform the ruins into forest. The rivers, freed from their dams, will resume their original courses. The glaciers that survive will begin to regenerate, slowly, sculpting new mountains of crystal. And where deserts exist today, new species will flourish, shaped by heat and radiation. The world to come will not be the same, it will be altogether different, born from the scar of its predecessor. Life has never ceased to exist, it merely transforms. Microorganisms will endure in the depths, insects will rebuild the food chain, and, in time, new conscious beings may emerge. Perhaps without flesh, without voice, without vanity, but with something that humanity has lost, the understanding that to live is to coexist. And as the planet is reborn, our marks will vanish. Our bridges, power plants, monuments, all will dissolve back into the rock. Plastic will turn to dust. Steel will revert to ore. Glass will return to sand. The world will become untouched once more, and silence, that forgotten sound, will once again reign supreme. The earth was never fragile, we were merely passengers. And when our cycle concludes, it will continue its journey around the sun, beautiful, cold, and indifferent, as if nothing had transpired. The planet will endure, even without us. Because the earth does not belong to humanity, humanity belongs to the earth. And when green blankets what remains of the gray, when the songs of new birds echo through the ruins, perhaps the universe will smile in silence. Not out of pity, but out of understanding, life always prevails, even if it must forget us to endure. The planet has always been the universe's greatest storyteller, and we, merely one of its sentences. After the last extinction, when the dust settles and time breathes again, Earth will pen a new chapter, unburdened by witnesses. Because what we call an end is simply nature's exhalation before it creates anew. Perhaps one day, amidst moss-covered ruins, a novel life form will awaken. It will discover no temples, no cities, no names. But it will unearth the footprints of a species that dared to play God, and failed. And perhaps, by deciphering what remains of us, it will grasp the lesson humankind never learned: he who seeks to dominate nature ultimately becomes subjugated by his own reflection. The cycle continues. The planet is reborn. And we become part of what we always were: dust, energy, and remembrance. Life will go on, because that's what it does. It doesn't need an audience. It doesn't apologize. It simply begins anew. And in this new world, devoid of borders and noise, the planet will finally reclaim what humanity has pilfered, silence and equilibrium. The Earth will breathe anew. And when it does, perhaps the entire cosmos will experience a commensurate sense of respite. The end was never destruction. The end is merely the moment the planet decides to remember who it is. So, if you've come this far, take a deep breath, and listen. The silence that now pervades the world is not the sound of death. It is the sound of a new beginning. And if you believe there's still something to comprehend, that there are secrets time has yet to unveil, subscribe now. Because in the next episode, you'll discover what transpires when life begins to evolve in humanity's absence. The Earth doesn't need heroes. It simply needs to be left to live.